there's a real soft place in the earth right under it.
On June 16th, 1987, Ron Wyatt and a film crew from the United States of America traveled to eastern Turkey at the express invitation of the governor of the Turkish province of Ari. The purpose of this expedition was to participate in and film a ceremony which memorialized and commemorated a site located on Cessna Dog Mountain, known locally as Doomsday Mountain, as the landing site of Noah's Ark. The ceremony was the culmination of 10 years of meticulous, painstaking, often dangerous research by Ron and his associates. On the historic occasion of June 20th, 1987, the governor of Ari has announced to the world that Turkish archaeological authorities agree with Ron's findings that the area under investigation is indeed the landing site of the legendary Ark. The governor, key military officials, local officials, and police have gathered in preparation for the ceremony. Due to Ron's contributions and efforts, he is made a guest of honor and is asked to actively participate in the dedication of the site. A visitor center is soon to be built, and construction plans are well underway. As the governor completes the dedication speech, the ceremony is completed with the holy sacrifice of a lamb. As each participant shovels commemorative concrete into the first footing, a prayer is said for the lamb's blood to cleanse the earth and keep the area free from evil. The governor has made the area an international park, and all faiths of the world are made welcome to visit and gaze upon what they believe to be the mortal remains of Noah's Ark. This saga began in 1977, when Ron began investigating a mysterious boat-shaped object which had been aerially photographed by a Turkish Air Force reconnaissance pilot while on a routine photo survey mission. The pilot, Lieutenant A. Curtis, took these photographs from an altitude of 10,000 feet, approximately 12 miles from Mount Ararat. They were examined by a Turkish captain assigned to photo interpretation, who spotted the symmetrical boat shape in what appeared at the time to be a lava flow. As a result, a team of Turkish explorers and researchers examined the object and discovered that its dimensions were indeed near those of the Ark as stated in the Bible, most particularly those of the length. In 1960, news of the photos reached the United States and soon caught the attention of a group of scientists and explorers known as the Archaeological Research Foundation. A second expedition to the site was soon formed under the aegis of Turkish military officers in a joint Turkish-American exploratory endeavor. Included in the American team was businessman Wilbur Bishop, who provided this footage of the 1960 expedition.
The trip to Dogabazit started, of course, in Ankara. We flew the Turkish airline to Erzurum. From there, I rented a Fiat station wagon. And we went from there to Dogabazit. The Turkish people knew what we were talking about, of course, and we went by the van over to this camp, which is right near the entrance to Persia. And there we rode horseback over to the site.
The American team journeyed to the site accompanied by the Turkish soldiers. Upon reaching the site, Wilbur gives us the team's reactions concerning the first viewing of the object.
Well, we got off of the horses and we looked down and see it right from there. We was about, I guess, 500 feet from the site, the side of the hill. We walked down from there. We had to jump several crevices in the earth from the earthquakes that had happened. All of us thought it was a boat. Till we left, when we didn't find any timber or anything, well, we figured it wasn't there.
Also with the American team was Dr. Arthur Brandenberger, a stereophotogrammetry expert. After studying the object and comparing the measurements to those in the aerial photos, he was quoted as saying, "I have no doubt at all that the object is a ship. In my entire career, I have never seen an object like this on a stereo photo." However, the rest of the team aren't convinced. So, due to the lack of finding evidence to match their hopes and expectations, they prepare to blow a hole in the side of the object.
Of course, we took a movie of trying to explode part of it out. I asked the Colonel Backel if he had some dynamite. He says, "No, but we got plenty of black powder." And so I told him, "Go get it." And we got it and blew the hole in, and later I found out now that that was one of the timbers was right there, but we didn't recognize it.
The team sets the explosive and, following the blast, still finds nothing that they recognize as evidence which would convince them or others that the ship-shaped object is the fabled Ark. Again, finding nothing to bolster their waning enthusiasm, they abandon their quest and the site and return home. On September 5th, 1960, Life magazine reported briefly the results of the expedition, after which interest in the object generated by the quest wanes, and it slips into obscurity, to be forgotten and written off as one of nature's freaks, until the 1977 examinations by Ron Wyatt began. Ron is a nurse anesthetist and currently practices at Memorial Hospital of Nashville, Tennessee. He had become intrigued by the object when the Life magazine article of 1960 caught his attention. However, Ron had family and career obligations to meet, and had to satisfy his yearning for adventure by studying and reading. He spent countless hours researching and studying the various sciences, particularly geology and archaeology, in preparation for the time when he could break free and begin actual field exploration of the boat-shaped object and the surrounding area.
We, at that point in time, began to do a lot of research, background research on the probable landing site of Noah's Ark, and review the existing stories about people that claim to have seen the Ark on the mountain and nearby areas.
During his studies, Ron discovers there are over 200 accounts of a universal global flood as made record of by various cultures, assorted myths, legends, and languages. Ron feels this is more than ample evidence for the purpose of supporting a massive universal flood theory. Also, Ron's studies reveal that there have been approximately 30 sightings of the Ark reported as resting on Mount Ararat, but none of the sightings have been documented as fact. In addition to this, many of the reports are contradictory and conflict with one another.
The 30 so-called eyewitnesses, and I don't doubt the integrity of these people, there are several stone formations on that mountain that resemble a boat, but no one was ever able to get photographic proof. Also, I found that, say for example, in World War II, the pilots that flew by the mountain and made entries in their flight log that they had seen a boat-shaped formation on the mountain. They said that the boat-shaped formation was on the southeast face of the mountain. The person that wrote this, or quoted this in his book, said that the log stated it was on the northwest face of the mountain. And so I found that some of the reliable data had been misquoted in some of the books in an attempt to convince people that the boat perhaps was in a different site than it really was. And so, given all of this information and the lack of proof, we decided to look elsewhere.
The sleeping volcano has been intermittently active throughout thousands of years and is also heavily glaciated. Ron can't see how a wood structure could have possibly survived on a mountain that has constantly been scoured by lava and glaciers for over 5,000 years. During his studies, he makes note of the fact that not one well-documented source states specifically that the Ark came to rest precisely on Mount Ararat. However, the Bible does state in Genesis 8:4 that the Ark came to rest in the mountains, that's plural, mountains of Ararat. Could it be that the Ark came to rest on a smaller sister mountain of Ararat proper? Have well-intending prior expeditions searched Ararat only because it is the highest point in the area, and as a result, overlooked and neglected other possible landing sites of the Ark? Point by point, Ron begins to build a case for the possibility of the Ark not being on Mount Ararat proper. Due to these conclusions drawn from his extensive research, he is more intrigued than ever concerning the possibilities of the site, which was explored and summarily abandoned by the 1960 expedition. At long last, in 1977, after 17 years of waiting, research, and dreaming, Ron has fulfilled his obligations and is able to begin actual field work in eastern Turkey. He hires a Turkish driver and assistant named Dilavar to aid him in his work. Over the years, this man becomes a trusted friend and ally. Upon first arrival and examination, he finds the area to be wild and intimidating in its natural ruggedness and beauty. He remembers wondering how he would ever possibly discover what he was searching for in this vast, lonely region.